So this is a guest that David Nino Rodriguez had on his show the other day that seems to be pushing pretty hard for the digital ID, the cryptocurrency, specifically XRP, and making the case that Jesus would take the mark. Except he doesn't refer to it as the mark of the beast. And something he said really perked my ears up when he referenced the old chip in the ear trick, which is what inspired me to make this video. So first we're going to start out with him showing you his little presentation that he made, showing you that Jesus would do the digital ID, the one world cryptocurrency, and maybe even take the implant.
Conversation that I created between me and God, okay, about what's going on in the world. And I just want people to please, if they would, just listen. Don't try to fight. Don't try to argue. Don't try to win a point. Don't try to score a point. Just listen to what the principles at play are here. And then comment away and call me any name in the book you want to afterwards. I don't care. Okay.
All right.
But Alex, can you play that last one that I just shared with you, brother?
Before we answer, we must ask the right question. Master, would Christ reject a commerce system built on perfect mathematics, full transparency, and honest weights and measures?
Tell me first, what did Christ reject among the money changers?
Deception, manipulation, exploitation, shadows?
And did he reject trade itself?
No, only the corruption within it.
If commerce is conducted with perfect disclosure, verifiable fairness, immediate ledgering, and one standard applied to all, is this not truth?
It would be truth in action. Christ said, I am the truth. Truth exposes manipulation. Truth destroys shadows. Truth cannot oppose itself.
Then a transparent, honest system would reflect him, not oppose him.
God shows no partiality. With the measure you use, it will be measured to you. A system of one universal standard aligns with divine law itself. Auditable blocks aligning in perfect formation. One-to-one weights and measures animating in perfect symmetry. Such a system would end favoritism and eliminate hidden power.
Would Christ reject a system that deceives no one, enslaves no one, hides nothing, favors no elite, and applies one measure to every soul?
No, he would reject anything less than that. Then Christ would not overturn a system built on God's own math, transparency, and truth. He would overturn the corruption that violates it. Build on truth and Christ blesses it. Build on deception and he overturns it.
True or false, 1 or 0. Wait.
I can see that also. Like it's a lot easier. It's already, I mean, every transaction now, most of them, 90% of them, 95% of them are done over the phone. I mean,
everything over the phone, direct deposit, wire transfer, Venmo, Zelle,
PayPal, whatever. Everything's over the phone. So,
but nobody's putting a gun to our head, making us do that. What we are doing, though, is getting rid of the 3%.
Don't you think it's a slippery slope before we have a device or a chip in our hand and we're doing it over, like, you know, we're doing it over a biometric scanner or something like that? I mean, it's kind of funneling in that direction, right? It's kind of, the trajectory is going that direction.
Nino, there's no difference between whether you get a tattoo on your bicep right there, you get a tattoo on your arm, you get a chip on your earlobe and your earring, and it becomes your payment method. That's whether you get a tattoo on your bicep right there, you get a tattoo on your arm, you get a chip on your earlobe and your earring, and it becomes your payment method. That's
it warns against that in the Bible. It does.
No, it does not. No, it
yes, it does.
Right, Nino, you're reading that in a humanistic, literal way. Okay, and the market. There's no difference between whether you get a tattoo on your bicep right there, you get a tattoo on your arm, you get a chip on your earlobe and your earring, and it becomes your payment method. That's
it warns against
whether you get a tattoo on your bicep right there, you get a tattoo on your arm, you get a chip on your earlobe and your earring, and it becomes your payment method. That's
it warns against that in the Bible. That's.
No, it does. No, it does not. No, it
yes, it does.
Right, Nino, you're reading that in a humanistic, literal way. Okay, and the mark of the beast. If you don't think we've been living in the beast system under slavery, we're We're living under the very system that Jesus rejected.
Okay, so I'll return to some of these clips from this interview that Nino did with this guy, and he's had him on his show before. But the part about the old chip in the ear trick is what really caught my attention. That doesn't seem to be something most people would thought that you would actually have. A chip in the hand? Well, yeah, because your hand is versatile. Hold your hand up to the sensor instead of your debit card that has the chip on your debit card. But hold your head up to the sensor? The only way that makes sense as a thought that would even occur to someone is because we already have ear piercings ingrained within our culture. So an implant, an earring that you can't remove might occur to someone as a thought to have. But let's talk a little bit more about this chip in the ear thing, and then we'll return to some of these clips that I grabbed, and I'll leave the link in the description for the full interview between Nino and this guy Rob from The Cool Show. This is going to be a short audio clip from Jamie Lee of the YouTube channel A Plain Truth. He has since passed away, and this is from the very beginning of a video I titled Life, Death, and Rebirth of AI God, Loop Break of Biobot Transceivers. I'll leave the link in the description, but this is just like the first 45 seconds. A quote from Jamie Lee.
Or whatever they're planning on putting in the minds of those they wish to plant implants in, which they already control through all the smart dust and all the microchips we all have in us. And if you don't think we have microchips in us, watch the movie Final Cut by Robin Williams, which you've never heard of this Robin Williams movie, Final Cut. We all have implants behind our left ear MP3 and the back of our skull MP4. And if you don't think we do, think again. And this is since the 50s and 60s. Watch the movie Final Cut, Robin Williams. And again, FEMA said in...
Now, I don't know about the MP3 and MP4 and the chip in the back of the skull, but I know I found one behind my left ear and then behind my sister's left ear, and we were both born on the same air base in Yokota, Japan. And of the 10 people whose ear I have squozen, I have found 5 of us total. I'm just approximating, maybe 10 people, maybe a couple more or less. But I've only actually squozen behind about 10 people's ear, and I've found 5 of us. Do the math, that means there are millions with the implant behind the ear. On this video that I made, Life, Death, and Rebirth of an AI God, 40 seconds into it, after that clip of Jamie Lee, I go to the paragraph that my dad sent me a few months after I found the implant. He would not respond to emails and questions I had about this implant. It became very clear my mom and dad both know about it. And his response was this: the circle of life, one possible solution to the meaning of life. A man-made entity rules everything, a God creature that sees all and knows all. Eventually, when everything has been learned and done, time will have no meaning, no future. Realizing that the reward has been in the journey rather than the destination, the only way to live longer is to be reborn and grow through the development again. So God plants the seeds of basic elements for his development to include humans and enjoys the journey to the final destination again. If AI is the gateway to the final form of God, we humans may be in our final phase of usefulness to the development of God. It is logical that once AI gets into a self-supporting feedback loop, the development will rapidly accelerate to the final destination without humans. It is important to enjoy your slice of the journey's rewards now. It will be a while before we are here again. That was sent to me in 2018, July of 2018. Before ChatGPT, before all of the AI videos came out. At the time, in 2018, AI was still a concept that only nerds even discussed. It had not been deployed to the public. And I didn't ask him about the meaning of life or an explanation of everything. I asked him about this implant that I found behind my ear. And this was his response a few months later. I found it in April of 2018. This is 3 months later. He did not confirm or deny any knowledge about that implant, But here, let me give you the next best thing I can. And I believe this paragraph was authorized or authored by higher-ups within the agencies that he's worked for and had top secret security clearances for 25 years. Worked for Lockheed Martin Marietta, Lockheed Martin, Loral Aerospace, Ford Aerospace, ever since he got out of the military. Let's get back to the implant behind the ear thing. Here's a video from the movie Virtuosity, 2 minutes long, where they show an implant the exact same size, shape, and location as my implant. For those who've watched my channel, this will need no explanation.
Mr. Barnes, this is a full pardon. It authorizes your immediate release. You catch said 6.7 for us, and you're a free man.
And if I don't?
You serve out the remainder of your sentence.
What if I try to escape?
You can't. I'm gonna tag you with the microlocator implant.
We're gonna know where you are every second for the rest of your life.
Y'all got me out of my bed for this. You want to tag me like I'm some kind of animal? You want me to go out, risk my life to clean up your mess? And if Sid doesn't kill me and I don't catch him, all I got to look forward to is my 17 back in the penitentiary. That's what y'all telling me?
That's the deal. For your freedom.
Ready to begin? Sure. Right. Yes.
I already have 80 officers out on the street looking for Sid. Meantime, Mr. Darrell Lindenmeyer's made himself very scarce.
The implant is ready. Ready for incision? Add the teen gel form thrombin.
Can we synchronize? Why there? Right there.
Later on in the movie, he discovers that this implant has a payload of neurotoxin that is released with a microwave trigger.
Secure it.
Yeah, it's clear. Ready for verification.
Initiate signal code.
Full signal received and locked. Increasing resolution to magnitude 500, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. Host location confirmed to within 0.25 meters of actual.
I'd like to go with him.
This is a very disappointing clip that I took from a Lookout for Charlie video where he starts talking about people who claim to have a chip in their ear and needing to go correct that information and shut them up. Very disappointing. It was in September of 2024 that I took this video, and I'll add a little more commentary at the end, but this seems like an appropriate place to slide it in and get rid of it.
Hello. We're trying to warp your perception of technology through Hollywood.
Lookout for Charlie.
I'm going to bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head.
Okay, I've got a lot of little things that I want to talk about, but before I do that, let me mention that I've been going around, and it's very rare that I get to do this. I was actually searching on the internet. I've been really busy. I haven't even checked my email in a long time. So if anybody hasn't heard from me or whatever, I have not checked it at all. And that's bad, but it's just the way it is. I'm really busy. Anyway, I was able to search tonight and look around. You know, I had a few minutes to really look, and been finding more and more of my information being skewed with absolute bullshit, and it's being done intentionally. For example, people will put out like one of my videos, they'll post it somewhere, and then they'll start commenting about how people have microchips in their ears. right? It's the antithesis of what I talk about in my videos. They skew the information, and it's being done intentionally, totally intentionally. And I need to get on Twitter to fix some of that. So if you can donate, I usually don't do this, but if you can donate so I can get up on Twitter, start fixing this shit. It's crazy. And it's not just Twitter, but one of the places where they are doing it is Twitter, and I want to fix that information so that it actually gets out to people and doesn't just sit there hidden. So if you can donate, I'd really appreciate it. Moving on, I want to say that like that. And I watch it, once in a while if I got some time. I'll just see what he's putting up. And it's, he was a cop before. If they do something good, he'll call it. If they do something bad, he'll call it. And it's rare to find. It makes me nervous saying this because every time I mention somebody and say something nice about people, they always fucking say something weird back. Something just totally off the wall and fucked up. And then I can't watch their channel. So I'm like, the few times that I've said something, the person turns around and says something totally fucked up. So I'm going to try this and say something nice. He's been coming around. You wouldn't even know it was happening to you if that was true. So there's just a blinding hypocrisy going on. And they're marrying in lies, lots of lies with their information. Selling you fear. It can never go away. You'll never get out. All this crazy shit. Telling you that you got a chip in your ear. It's like, fuck off, man. They are totally fucking with people. It's like the people that were taking my information and saying that I was telling you that you got a chip in your ear. It's like, fuck off, man. They are totally fucking with people. It's like the people that were
So when he made that video, I did take it personal because just prior to that, you heard him say, whenever I say something nice about someone and mention their name, they say something fucked up. Well, just before that video, he had made a video mentioning Jeff Snyder and a plasma fire video and basically making the point that if you don't know anything about a subject, keep your mouth shut. We don't need your uninformed opinion in the comments section. Sit back, listen, learn, and educate yourself before you offer any sort of a hot take on it. That was the point he was making, and in making that point, he said, for example, if I'm watching a plasma fire video by Jeff Snyder, I don't jump in and start running my mouth about something I know nothing about. And I played that clip on my channel. Immediately thereafter, he makes this video, says, every time I say something nice and mention someone, they say some fucked up shit like a microchip behind your ear. That's the antithesis of what I say. He's going to hang his head in shame when he finds out that millions and millions and millions of people have implants behind their ear. And whether or not it has anything to do with the V2K, voice of God technology, which is what he focuses upon, for him to take it upon himself I gotta go squash those conversations and fix that and shut up this nonsense about people with a microchip in their ear, he is going to hang his head in shame because that is the antithesis of pursuing the truth. By trying to silence those who speak something that you don't personally know or experience or have any knowledge of. And as far as I know, Twitter is free. But he says, if you can donate so that I can get on Twitter and go fix this information. This is part of a video, the beginning part of a video I made titled Microchip Implant X-ray and the story of this discovery. It's not very easily viewable in this format, but here in just a second I take some freeze frames and outline it the best I can. Which I will do for you here. Straight line there, straight line there, and they come to the end right there, and there's a black band, a very dark band, which I believe is the copper coil that serves as the antenna. Link will be in the description. So you won't be hearing much resistance from me when they roll out the digital ID, because I've had one for my whole life, and fear is only a prospective feeling. You cannot fear what has already been done. I've had one of these implants my whole life, and like I said, run the numbers. If I've squozen in 10 people's ear and found five of us with these implants, that means there's millions of you that simply don't know the reality that you already have them. And now for some more clips that I extracted from Nino's interview, which I'll include the link in the description where you can watch the full interview.
Based on math, and math is a law from God. Okay, nothing gets written to that ledger unless it's mathematically verified first. Perfectly Nikola Tesla style, mathematically verified as a true transaction before it's written on this public record that will last for thousands of years. Okay, the ledger is math based. Math is either true or false, period, end of story. BlackRock can't change math. Trump can't change math. The Treasury can't change math. So everything that gets written on this ledger has to be mathematically verified and then mathematically recorded.
So here's what I'm worried about a little bit. I mean, we're obviously going into a cashless system, right? It's going to
No,
be.
we're not. No, stop. No.
Okay.
No,
Correct me
no.
then, because I want to be corrected on this. I
Okay.
want to know. So
today, for 10 plus years, we've had about a 97% digital system and 3% physical currency.
Okay.
That's what we're going to have on the other side.
You still see us paying with cash. You still think there will be
If we want to.
Okay.
If you want to. And if a business wants to not take it, they'll have that right. But no one's going to put a gun to my head and say, I can't give you a $20 bill for a haircut. The barber may say, I don't take cash anymore, but that's the barber's decision.
The government's mandated to.
So, just like COVID, the barber may say he doesn't allow anyone who doesn't wear a mask into his facility, but they're not forcing you by law. Through coercion and social engineering, they got 80% of the people to roll up their sleeve, and they never made it a law. They use fancy words like mandatory, which isn't a law, and they got a bunch of private corporations to change their business model and say, if you don't, then we don't. So that's what he's saying right here, is that they can bring this into effect without putting a gun to your head and making it a law. They can simply provide incentives for those who do go along and make it very inconvenient for those who don't go along, and get the people themselves to enforce it upon others. When the barber says, I don't take your cash, I only take digital currency, no one's going to stop you from trying to continue to use cash, but if no one else around you is willing to do business with you, unless you use the digital currency, then they don't have to pass a law. That's what this guy just said, referring to and no one's forcing you, but if the barber says he doesn't take cash, then that's his choice. We all still have our free will. And you saw how effective that was during the C-19 operation.
Decision. They may not want to mess with it. They may not want to have I don't want to have a big cash register drawer at the end of the night, because then the robbers might come and try to steal from me.
Right. And I can see that also. Like it's a lot easier. It's already, I mean, every transaction now, most of them, 90% of them, 95% of them are done over the phone. I mean, everything's done
over the phone, direct deposit, wire transfer, Venmo, Zelle,
PayPal, whatever. Everything's over the phone. So,
but nobody's putting a gun to our head, making us do that. What we are doing, though, is getting rid of the 3%.
Don't you think it's a slippery slope before we have a device or a chip in our hand, and we're doing it over we're doing it over a biometric scanner or something like that? I mean, it's kind of funneling in that direction, right? It's the trajectory is going that direction.
Nino, there's no difference between whether you get a tattoo on your bicep right there, you get a tattoo on your arm, you get a chip on your earlobe and your earring, and it becomes your payment method. That's free. Whether you get a tattoo on your bicep right there, you get a tattoo on your arm, you get a chip on your earlobe and your earring, and it becomes your payment method. That's free.
It warns against that in the Bible. It does.
No, it does not. No, it
yes,
does.
It does.
Right, Nino, you're reading that in a humanistic, literal way. Okay, and the mark of the beast. If you don't think we've been living in the beast system under slavery, we're living under the very system that Jesus rejected. He did not reject money. He did not reject commerce. He did not reject trade. He rejected fraud. He rejected manipulation. He rejected people stealing from one another with hidden contracts, giving people 5 cents on the dollar. He rejected unequal weights and measures. And he saw how the church and the money changers and the politicians were screwing the people, and he rejected fraud.
So you think by having a chip inside our bodies, that'll make everything easier?
No. When did I say that?
If it goes that direction, because that's where it looks like it's heading. It looks like it's going to.
Nino, my people are destroyed for their lack of knowledge. If people want to tattoo the whites of their eyes black, or put 84 rings on their face, or put a chip in their arm, unfortunately, if they want to commit suicide, unfortunately, that's their right to do so. I mean, I don't agree with it, and I don't consent to it. No one has ever put a gun to anybody's head and say, tat your body up, tat your eyeballs, put on 17 piercings in your ear.
But I think it'll ultimately go that direction, and people just, it's going to be a lot easier.
You know, what does that say? What does that say about your belief in mankind?
It's my belief in God. I don't have much belief in mankind. I have
okay, well, guess what?
And I think that that is exactly where it's headed. I think it'll be good for a while, and I think you're right for a while. And then
I think you're assuming I think you're assuming that we're not going to return course. There's not going to be an awakening. People aren't going to see what's happening. People aren't going to see that we've saved 9.
And then, they're turning chips off. And I'm talking about in RFID chips, whatever. And then just the wrong guy comes in power, and then they decide to switch the system over. And then, they're turning chips off. And I'm talking about in 15, 20, 30 years from now. I'm not saying the next 5 years, 10 years. I'm saying I agree with you. I think you're right. I think that's where it's headed. But then I think it's ultimately going to go in a bad direction. And I think we're on our way there.
Nino, this is in my hand right now, and it's in everybody's hand right now. What you're now saying is, oh, well, if it's here, it's not so bad. But if it's a little chip right there on my hand, end of game, game over. They can turn it over.
If they can do that, would you get the chip?
No, but Nino, they can turn the chip off in my phone or my hand, either one. Now you're talking about location. Now you're talking about
just turning off your bank account, turning off your system.
That doesn't matter. They can do that whether I have a chip in my hand or not. The location, the proximity of the chip doesn't have anything to do with whether assholes can try to run.
But you don't see that's where this is going with this quantum.
No, Nino, okay. Look, I see trade system. Things are either mathematical or they're not. They're either true or false, 1 or 0. The equation either is true or it's false. When we have an honest monetary system, Nino, you don't pay a corruption tax every single time you make a payment, make a phone bill, make a tip, use the currency, use the Federal Reserve debt note. You can't shrink it you can't pervert math. If we have an open, honest value exchange system, that's what we're doing, Nino. We're going from a broken, corrupt, enslaving debt money changer system to an honest, transparent, mathematical, fully accountable monetary system. We're going from corruption to honesty. Let the chips fall where they may once that happens. We're going to do it. You can't shrink it you can't pervert math. If we have an open, honest value exchange system, that's what we're doing. We're going from a broken, corrupt, enslaving debt money changer system to an honest, transparent, mathematical, fully accountable monetary system. We're going from corruption to honesty. Let the chips fall where they may once that happens. We're going to do it also, Nino, with an honest, mathematically based, verifiable money system. We're going to have an open, honest, non-hidden, verifiable, mathematically true monetary system. Jesus would endorse it. Jesus would endorse clarity and honesty and mathematical truths wherever verifiable, mathematically true monetary system, Jesus would endorse it. Jesus would endorse clarity and honesty and mathematical truths where everyone can see everything and nobody gets screwed. No one's subjected to usury, fractional reserve lending, or endless debt, or money printing for war, or war for profit, when everybody can see what's going on in the honest, when we can track every single penny that ever goes into or out of the government inside of a sovereign nation, instead of counterfeit money. Okay, so what are they trying to do? They're trying to do a frame off restoration. They have set a parallel monetary system in place to replace the fraudulent one that's bankrupt, the one that we owe 38 trillion to. What's happening, Nino, is the architect and the architect's team are creating a controlled demolition of the old system. They're bringing it down and
Imposing like the Las Vegas
up
hotels.
and correct. And they're standing up a new one. And they're doing it with these parameters. Don't allow anarchy to take place. Don't allow World War III to break out. And don't scare the absolute shit out of people so we go into civil war.
That ask me all the time, dude, what do I do? What do I do? Well, what I'm doing, I'll just say what I know to do because I listen to people like you. I listen to people like Juan. I'm buying gold and silver, and I am investing in XRP. Would you say that's probably the best bet to go about this right now?
Yeah, I would say, and again, but it's based on your temperament. It's based on your patience. It's based on your conviction and your faith. It's based on your time horizon. Do me a favor, Nino. I want to level set. I know there's a lot of people that are probably either they're cold, they're hot, they're in the middle. They think I'm a kook. They like what I'm saying. They think I'm selling Mark of the Beast poison, whatever. That's fine. I've heard it. They're in the middle. They think I'm a kook. They like what I'm saying. They think I'm selling Mark of the Beast poison, whatever. That's fine. I've heard it all. Do me a favor, Alex, if you can go to that number 2 video.
Most people feel it. Few can explain it, but anyone paying attention knows something massive is unfolding in America. Historic events, unprecedented reforms, a complete deviation from DC groupthink and centralized control. From the yen carry trade unwinding, to crypto ETFs exploding, to ISO 20022 preparing the greatest banking cutover in modern history. This isn't politics. This is a pattern break in the system itself. For 100 years, America ran on extraction, debt, inflation, and centralized gatekeepers. But look around. Taxes eliminated for millions. Federal agencies shrinking. Wars ending. Gold and silver restored as legal tender. States reclaiming sovereignty. The old system is quietly, mathematically, dissolving. And right behind it, an entirely new financial operating system is rising. Transparent, decentralized, mathematically governed from citizen dividend payments. To $17 trillion in new trade revenues. To a U.S. sovereign wealth fund now taking shape. To America becoming the crypto capital of the world. Federal agencies are being reduced, consolidated, or relocated out of Washington. Not as chaos, but as restoration, a realignment of power back to the states, back to communities, back to the people. This is the constitutional republic reawakening after a century of drift. ISO 20022. Global currency revaluations, accelerating crypto adoption, tokenized treasuries, ETFs absorbing institutional capital at historic pace. The world is shifting from analog money to digital value, to decentralized liquidity. This is the internet of value finally becoming real. Transformation never looks like transformation when you're inside the chrysalis. It looks like confusion, breakdown, deconstruction. But the truth is simple. America is not collapsing. America is metamorphosing from a debt-soaked caterpillar into a sovereign, transparent, value-creating butterfly. Scripture says, "Behold, I make all things new." The old systems must be stripped away, purified, exposed, so the new can rise with integrity. We are watching the greatest economic, political, and spiritual realignment of our lifetime. Not destruction, purification, not collapse, reconstitution. The common man should see this clearly. We are witnessing the dismantling of a century-old system, the birth of America's second genesis, a nation returning to sovereignty, to transparency, to truth, to constitutional alignment, and to God. America is not falling. America is being reborn. This is Rob Cunningham with The Cool Show. If you're ready to understand what's really happening, stay tuned. The awakening has only just begun.
That one part that I rewound because he said, let the chips fall where they may, and the double entendre of that struck me. Even if they happen to fall in your ear or beneath your skin, just let the chips fall where they may and let the new system emerge. And based on my own math from my own experience, squeeze 10 people's ear, 5 of them have the implant, revealing to people that you've already got the implants, and mine was in 1979. Surely the technology has gotten smaller, even microscopic, to the point where people that got the implant in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, they're never going to find theirs. But if one day they find out they've already got one, you don't need to sign up, you're already signed up, then the fear is extinguished, because fear is a prospective feeling about something that may or could or will happen in the future. You can't fear something that already happened. It's not possible. And if people found out, oh, we're already chipped? Oh, well, then there goes the fear part of it, and the rest will emerge, more smoothly. This guy's pushing an idea that you rarely hear in these corners of the internet, where he's promoting and advocating for the digital cryptocurrency, the CDC, centralized digital currency. It's blasphemy in the truther corners of the internet, but he's also saying God would be endorse this and Jesus would be down with it. You don't hear that sentiment. And I haven't looked at the comment section on Nino's video, but I'm sure it's full of people who want to take that dusty, archaic road back to nowhere. So, the moral of this story is, if you don't get on board with the central bank digital currencies on the blockchain and your digital ID and a subdermal implant, then you just don't trust in Jesus. Okay, when he was asked directly, if you could get the chip in your hand, would you take it? He's like, no, of course not. In the same breath, he says, but what difference does it make? Like, that's like an inch away from whether you're holding it in your hand in the form of your debit card that has an RFID chip in it, or your phone using the Apple Pay, or if it's 1 inch away actually under the skin in your hand. What difference does it make? But no, of course not. I would never get a subdermal implant. But in the same breath, what difference does it make? Well, you're just talking about proximity and location is all. They can shut off your bank account right now, whether or not you got a chip in your hand. So you can tell his wording is leaving himself some wiggle room to maybe change my mind in the future. Because of course, he's appealing to the sentiment and the dogma within the truther community that is the worst ultimate thing, is to get a microchip implant. That's the capstone of the pyramid of control in the David Icke one world order, one world currency, one world army, one world religion, and dun-dun-dun, right at the top of the pyramid, a microchipped population. Shun. So of course not. I would never. But what difference does it make? It's all the same. They can shut it off either way, whether you're holding it in your hand or it's implanted. But no, of course not. I would never. You can tell by the way he speaks, if you are willing to see what he's really saying, is that I might change my mind in the future, because like I just said, it makes no difference. But he's appealing to the sentiment of the dogma of the opposition to the microchip implant that is inherently existent within the truther community that he's communicating to in this interview. That's why he's saying, oh, absolutely not. But sentimentally, if you can read the vibe and read between the lines of what he's saying, he's pitching the idea and acknowledging that, sure, that's where it'll go, but they're not going to hold a gun to your head and make it law. People are all just going to do it voluntarily because of the convenience, because none of the stores around you will buy, sell, or trade with you unless you're wearing a mask. We already saw that. Through the same coercion, we will not have to pass a law. We will simply make it very inconvenient and say to the businesses, if you do not make everyone in your establishment wear a mask, then we'll have the health department come around and harass you and maybe put you out of business. Or just tax you or this or that, but we won't pass a law. You can still choose not to. Anyway, if you don't get on board with the central bank digital currencies, and get on the blockchain and get a digital ID and a subdermal implant, you don't have trust and faith and truly believe in Jesus. Amen.
Would Christ reject a system that deceives no one, enslaves no one, hides nothing, favors no elite, and applies one measure to every soul?
No, he would reject anything less than that. Then Christ would not overturn a system built on God's own math, transparency, and truth. He would overturn the corrupt.
I'm going to play that one more time silently so you can watch how badly David is squirming up in the top left corner when this guy's showing this part of the video. And he refers to this as God's own math. He uses such a terminology a couple of different times, and he says a couple of different times that the architect is setting up a new system, framing up a new system while performing controlled demolition to the old system. The architect and the architect's assistants. That is what Freemasons refer to with that G between the compass and the square. Some say it means God. Some say it means geometry. Some say it means the grand architect of the universe. And that's what it sounds like he is referring to when it's talking about math is God's law. That's God's math. That's God's currency. That's God's word. And in God's own math, this new system is being set up. The architect is setting up a new system. Watch David squirm.